Guys, welcome back to the Lifted podcast. I am doing a solo episode. It took me like 2 days, 2 full days to figure out what I wanted to talk about. And we need to do an update. We're going to get into it, but we need to do an update first. Um, first of all, I don't know what's been happening this week, but my body dysmorphia has been through the roof. I don't even know, all over the place. Like, literally, I will wake up one day and I'm like, oh my God, you are the skinniest bitch ever. And like, not that I want to be skinny, but like, I'm like, oh my God, you can see my abs. That's so cool. And then the next day, or literally within 2 hours, I'm like, oh my God, you need to go on a cut. And I don't really know where this is coming from. But I am like baffled at like me looking in the mirror and then me looking at a picture and then being like, and I think it's just fucking normal. But at the same time, I'm like, why is this happening right now? Okay. I also have written down all of my updates for you because I feel like I can't forget any. I'm like, I will end this podcast and then I'll be disappointed because I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot to update them on that. So I also wanted to say this off of the whole body dysmorphia part of things. I got a comment on one of my reels the other day, and like, yo, we get so many hate comments, but sometimes you're like already insecure about something, and then someone says something, and you're like, oh, why? Why did you have to go and say that? So I don't know if you guys remember, like episodes ago, I talked about someone talking about like they said I had like a dude's face or something when I was modeling. I don't know if it was here or if it was on my YouTube. It was on one of my channels, okay? And guys, I will forever just be insecure about like when I was growing up, I always had this like really round face, right? And someone commented on one of my reels and they said that I had a puffy face or something and I was like, okay. Usually hate comments don't get to me, and if I'm being honest with you, like it didn't really. I just feel like when you're already thinking about something or like when you've grown up with something and someone says something about it, you're kind of like, ah, fuck off. Like just it's just not the time. Also, yeah, I feel like my face has gotten like 10 times better since then. But we still love ourselves. It's fine. I need a place to complain. And the podcast seems like the perfect place because I just feel like you guys will relate to this. Like, if someone says something and you're like, I'm already insecure about that, why would you even bring that up? Um, yeah. So I finally came up with what I was going to talk about in this podcast. This morning, I went to the gym and I was just training legs. Like, my leg sessions, you guys, lately have been so fucking good. They've been like everything that I could ask for from a leg day in the gym, which you guys know how much I like the gym. So I'm like thriving, okay? And, I go through my leg day, I do my hip thrusts, I do whatever I do, and then I'm stretching. And I have been actually stretching in my workouts finally, and being consistent with it. And I came up with just the best idea for the podcast. And, I'm listening to this like really chill music. Every time I stretch, I just listen to really chill music. And I came up with notes and I was almost having a moment. Like, when you're like, okay, when you're like upset in the car and a sad song comes on and you're looking out the window and you're like, oh my God, my life is so fucking dramatic. Like, I could just cry right now. And you just think you're like, the main character of a movie. It's basically what was happening when I was stretching. And I was like, this is just the perfect topic, which we're not going to get into yet because I need to explain to you guys what has been happening for the past couple weeks. And that has been, I feel like I've been going through such a rough time. And I realize that I always talk about my, like, what mental health stuff that's going on. And I think it's just because there's like, I'm so in the middle of being in this business in lifted lifting, and there's so much going on all the time that I really pay attention when I'm having a low time, but then when I'm having a high time and I'm trying to get better at this, it's almost like you just expect that to be all the time and you just don't really talk about it that much. I also feel like it's low key bragging. Like, I don't want to brag about the stuff that's happening. And I don't know why I've just, I don't know. I feel that way. I don't know if you guys feel that way too, but sometimes when you're talking about good things, you low key feel like you're bragging and it just like, it gives me the ick, okay? But the last couple weeks, so I feel like I've been in a bit of a hole, like mentally. There's been a lot changing, there's been a lot going on, and I finally feel like I'm coming out of it. But I had moments, and honestly, I don't even know why I had them, but I had moments where I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I genuinely, I thought about quitting the clothing. I thought about like quitting the whole fitness thing and just being like, I just want to go to the gym and I just want to work out. But I'm so delusional, you guys, that'll never happen. Like, I honestly, I know this shit is gonna work out, and I know that like building a business is so hard. Um, and I like being delusional and I like being stubborn because it helps me get further because I'm like, bitch, don't quit. Like, you, like, just don't quit. Just keep going. Like, just basically outlive everyone else and it's bound to be successful, is how I think about it. Um, but it literally made me think of like the good advice that I've been given in the past couple of years in basically my entire life, and also the awful advice, because if I was never given this advice, whether it was good or bad, some of these just little phrases, little nuggets of information that people have given me have like completely changed my life or changed the way that I like think about stuff. So I wanted to share them with you guys. But because we kind of started out on a negative note, like the fact that I'm thinking about quitting shit, like who am I? Like what world am I living in that I'm going to quit this? I'm not going to quit, you guys. It's crazy. Um but I was like in such a hole and starting out talking about negative stuff all the time. I just wanted to start with some positive things because we just need a little bit of positivity in our life. I do that thing on my Instagram every single Monday. You guys tell me like a positive thing that's happening in the week or that happened or whatever. And sometimes I just forget to talk about my positive moments. So we're going to take a minute to talk about it, okay? Um, First of all, the clothing is getting better. I don't know if you guys have seen lately some of the designs. Um, the Strong Stoner summer designs, the if you guys saw that like I just posted on my Snapchat, the sweater, it's tighter. It's like got the, what are those called? The thumb holes where you put your thumb in. Yo, I have been wearing that thing nonstop. It's so comfy. What else do we have? Oh, more sports bras. Okay, like, I hate to talk just about my business, but this is the most exciting time because we need more sports bras like ASAP, okay? Um, oh, one thing that has been getting better is, okay, so you guys know that James is working like on Lifted full time now. And I feel like it's such a transition and I just feel like it's getting really good. Like, we both, it's so crazy because we just like complement each other so well. So a lot of people ask like what basically what he does and stuff. So this whole podcast would not look this way if James wasn't here. Guys, like this mood, the mood setting is James. I show up. I'm like, I will come up with the content. I will bring the guests. I will do that. But everything that's like even the camera setup, the lights, you guys can't see it, but there's two lights and they're on me. There's three cameras. And I just get to show up. You know how cool that is? Like, yeah, it's a lot to like think of all the information and whatever, but I'm kind of living my dream, okay? Like, it's such a weird dream to just like want to show up in your own living room and like do a podcast, but this is actually my dream. That's crazy. So talk about fucking positivity. Um I have been making recipes. I don't know if you guys have seen it on my Instagram. The recipe game is prime. It is top tier right now. My food is turning out so just good. Okay, I have one last thing, and it is a shout out to my girl. Her name is Elyse, and it's not me. It is one of my Facebook mods. She just did two competitions in the matter of like a couple weeks, and I just wanted to shout out to her because those are her first competitions, and she placed in like she got medals in I think both of them. Um, but yeah, she's been updating us in the Snapchat groups. And like, honestly, it's so cool to have seen someone because when I went on the first trip with her, the first lifted trip, she was on the very first trip, you guys. And when I went on the first trip, I remember her saying that she wanted to compete or that she was like thinking about it or whatever. And I was like, okay. And then to see her like, what is it, a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, competing, I'm like, yo, that's so cool. Like, good for you. So, anyways, I just wanted to shout her out because I feel like that was like one of the topics in our mod group that was popping off. Now, let's get into some of this advice. Like I was telling you guys before, I was literally stretching and having a moment and being like, what's the best and worst advice that I've ever gotten? Like, what's that advice that like changed my life? And what's the advice that I was like, what the actual fuck? So, okay, here's one thing. And all of these just, they kind of revolve around my life, okay? So, this one came from my mom, and this was when I was working. I think I was working 4 jobs at this time, and I've told this story on my YouTube before, but I want to give you guys a little bit more detail. So, the advice, I'm going to give the advice first, and then I'm going to tell you the story. So, my mom said there's like a million other jobs, and if your boss sucks, like don't put up with them. So, I think the reason she said this is because I was working in restaurants, and in restaurants, like people, I don't know if you guys have ever worked in a restaurant. First of all, people are flaky as fuck. Like they will not show up, or they'll call in sick every second day, or they'll literally like get the job and they'll come for like the first week and then they'll just like drop off the face of the earth. And you're like, okay. So you end up having to deal with that. Like working in the restaurant, you have to deal with that. So I worked, what, 4 jobs at this point. I was in Vancouver, rent was really expensive, and I was working at these restaurants. And I had, okay, so my first job was great. Like, loved this job. I had a great boss. All the people were really cool. It was bomb, okay? The other one was a nightclub, and honestly, I made so much money at that job. I was just like, my boss could be the biggest dickhead ever, but as long as I show up and I do my shift and I don't talk to anyone and I just make these tips, I will be happy, okay? And then my other job was like some random sales job that I was like, I was just selling like vegan cookie dough. It was like the weirdest shit ever, but it worked. And I got as much cookie dough as I wanted, probably why I had an eating disorder, but it's fine. And then my fourth job was the problem. So it could have been that I had to be up at like 5 a.m. to get to this job, or it could have been that my boss was absolutely awful. And I'm going to go with the second one because, yes, I wasn't a morning person, but usually I could just deal with it. Okay. And no, no, no. This guy was like the worst. Okay, when I say micromanage, I mean he micromanaged the shit out of this restaurant. So even if like I, okay, didn't get taught anything. I didn't really get trained at this job. And I also had worked in restaurants for years. So I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I was also trained by a Boston Pizza. Everyone says if they're trained by Boston Pizza, it's like the best training you can get for a restaurant. So I was like, not to be cocky, but I actually think I'm pretty good at this. And he like he would come in, and if I put the water in the wrong glass, he would literally freak out, like lose his mind. And I was like, okay, like this is just actually really frustrating. And it was it was half because my customers that day were awful. Like think about, okay, this restaurant was attached to a hotel. You guys need all the details because you need to understand the position that I was in to actually have done what I did. So I was in a hotel, and like it was attached to the hotel, whatever. So the guests, a lot of times, were just like from different places. Lots of times they wouldn't tip, which in North America, it's a thing. Like you have to tip because people in restaurants get paid less. Um, don't get me started on tipping. I will literally go off, okay? So I'm in a restaurant that's in a hotel, and it's like 6 a.m., okay? And I'm dealing with people that are all around the world, different accents, people that don't speak English, like, you know, whatever, 6 a.m., okay? I'm just trying to deal. And this guy, it was one of my older, it was like an older couple. And this guy was like complaining about, I honestly think it was like the sausage or something. It was the breakfast sausage. Like, I genuinely think it was something so dumb that I was like, I don't think I can deal with this right now. I actually think, now that I think about it, you know what he was complaining about? So, you know how you get breakfast sausage and they're like really skinny little baby sausages? No, no, no. He got breakfast sausage and it came out as like this big sausage, but that's like, that's what we served. There was really genuinely nothing I could do about this. And it's like, the man is complaining to me about sausages, okay? And I am like, dude, it is 6 a.m. I can't listen to this right now. And I told him, I was like, we don't have any other sized sausages in this restaurant, okay? Then I go back, and also the manager, okay, so we had the one manager that was awful, like the dude that micromanaged everything. Then we also had the owners, and like I feel like it was a, I don't know if there was like multiple owners, but there was these two older women there that day, and one was the owner for sure. I don't know what the fuck the other one was doing, but both of them were running around like micromanaging all of us. And I was like, first of all, you guys, I know you own the place, but you're never in here. Like, you can't just walk in here and start yelling at me because I haven't cleaned my table yet when I'm running around listening to this man talk about his fucking sausage. Like, what do you want me to do? So, I I was already in the worst mood. 6 a.m., worst mood. And this guy, like the manager, he tells me something. Guys, I really wish I could remember what he said. But we're in the kitchen, and I think he told me how to hold three plates or something. And I was like, dude, I've been in kitchens for so long. Like, you need to just like back off. If the plate isn't fucking falling, let me take the plate, you know? Like, if I can balance the plate, I'm going to take the plate. And then he was trying to teach me this shit, and I had it at this point, and I just like literally just I was like, you go serve the fucking tables. And yeah, I made him, I was just done. I was done. I took off my little apron thing that we had to wear, and I was out. I was like, I don't even care about the tips. Like, I need to get out of here. And that was when, I think it was right after that job, that my mom told me this. She said, there's literally a million other jobs out there. Like, you can't just do one job if your boss sucks, like, especially when you're working in a restaurant. So that completely changed my life because after that, I think it made it so much easier for me to switch jobs without being upset about it. Like, you know how when you switch a job or you quit a job or like, you've been at a job for like 7 years and you almost get like sad for leaving, or you're like, oh, like maybe your manager switched or something and she was awful and you're just like, I have to quit this job. Like, there's so many other fucking jobs out there and there's so many other bosses that you should just never have to deal with a shitty boss. If you have a shitty boss, you should just quit. I'm not telling you guys to do anything, but like, it's just not even worth it. Okay. So, this I brought this up in my last podcast. This was advice that helped me. It almost helped my mental health. Like, this was something that, like, these words will just always stay in my head. And actually, it's so funny because I moved back to Calgary, and the girl that actually said this to me like years ago, she literally lives so close to me, and we're like we still talk, we're still friends, and I feel like I hope she listens to this. I'm going to send her this like little snippet because um she told me it's okay to not be okay. And this was when I was like going through one of my breakups. I was honestly just like, I didn't have a lot of friends and I didn't have a lot of just almost people to fall back on. Like, I felt really alone, but I knew that I had to do what I had to do, you know? Like, when you're just like, you're so stuck in a situation and it's almost so scary to leave, but you're like, I need to do this for me to just be okay. And I actually remember I was texting her on the SkyTrain because we were I wouldn't say we were really close. I actually genuinely didn't have a lot of friends at this point, and she was a work friend, so I was like texting her and I was like, obviously just talking about what I was going through and talking about like, I'm just heading to work and whatever, and she was just kind of really nice to me in that moment. Um I feel like that's almost something that I should say, like if you have someone that's going through something, and even if you don't know if they're lonely or not, just being genuinely nice to them in that, like, and giving them some of your time and just like giving them the time of day basically can actually help someone so much because we weren't, like I was saying, we were not that close. Like, we'd probably hung out like maybe 2 times out of work. The rest, we literally just saw each other at work. And just for her to take the time to like even fucking message me back, I was like, that's so nice. Like, and then she was like, because I told her I was going through a hard time. And obviously, I just told her what was happening and all this stuff. And when she texted me that, she literally said it's okay to be okay. I remember reading that text and I was mid SkyTrain. If you guys don't know what the SkyTrain is, it's in Vancouver and it's like their public transport. Um, and I started bawling. Like, I remember I had my sunglasses because I don't know, I think it was summer or some shit. But I literally remember crying and I remember putting my sunglasses on and being like, holy shit. Like, I am full on bawling on this SkyTrain. And like, yeah, I was honestly just, I wanted a hood. I was like, I wish I could just put my hood up. I wish I could just go home. But I had to go to work, which is probably good because it got my mind off stuff. But like, when she texted me that, it's such a different mindset because now when I think like, oh my God, I don't feel like I'm that okay or whatever, I don't really put pressure on myself to be okay. I'm like, it's actually kind of okay to sit in your feelings as long as you're not like sitting for too long, I guess. Once you feel like you're like, fuck, I've cried about this for like 3 days, I mean, we should probably go do something about that. But if you are wanting to cry about something and like sit in your feelings for like, I don't know, a little bit, even if it is a couple fucking days, who actually cares? Like, as long as you're like, I'm genuinely okay and I don't need someone else's help or something, it's probably okay to cry for a couple days, or it's probably okay to be upset about something for a couple days and like kind of sit in it for a minute and just realize that you might, like, if I think back to that moment when I was like, okay, I'm obviously not okay. I've now got to go to work. I think I just accepted that I wasn't going to feel my best and I wasn't going to feel like, even at work, I was like, I remember, holy shit, this is crazy. I feel like as I'm talking, I'm just like remembering shit. When that was happening, when I worked at the nightclub, I actually remember going to, so it was the same day, I'm pretty sure, or it was the same week. It was after this had all happened. And I went into the club and I went to work and like, I guess I was just a really happy, bubbly person all the time. And then um I think it was one of the security guards, as soon as I got in, he was like, I was like, because I was the beer bin girl. So I was that girl that was like in the middle of the dance floor with like my thing to open beers and like whatever. I was pouring people shots. And that's what I was doing at that time before I like moved up to bartender. And when I was there, okay, I remember going in and I went to my little beer bin thing and I was like working and whatever. And then it was like, I don't know, maybe like an hour, 2 hours into my shift, the security guard came up to me and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, like what? Like, what do you mean I'm fine?" Because like they always just come and check on us and we're just like, "Yeah, it's fine." Um, if it's not fine, we obviously tell them that it's not fine. And he was like, "No, like, you actually just don't look as happy as you usually are. Like, are you like okay?" And I was like, okay, well, now I'm gonna cry. I didn't cry, but I was like, fuck, like, no, I'm not really okay, but like, I obviously don't want to talk about it because I'm at work and like, but I was just like, yeah, no, I'm fine, like, whatever. But I think that was also a moment when I just kind of realized, like, sometimes you're just not gonna be okay, and sometimes you're not gonna be the happiest person in the room, or sometimes you're not gonna be like as bubbly as you usually are. And I think it's just about accepting that and being like, it's kind of okay if I'm not, because we also don't want to go into situations to just completely fake everything. So just being not okay and accepting it is kind of a fucking vibe. Like, it's kind of nice because you're not really pressured. We shouldn't feel pressured to be okay all the time, you know? And we shouldn't feel pressured to, yeah. Anyways, that was the longest fucking rant ever. Um, okay. So this one, I'm not sure if I got told this or I'm gonna have a sip of water before we continue, you guys. So I'm not sure if I got told this or if I just realized from like all my friends or even just girls in general coming to me and being like, my boyfriend's doing this and my boyfriend's doing this and oh my god, I'm so mad at him for, I don't know, fucking leaving the house a mess or something. And then I think I just realized that, I'm not sure if I realized it, like I said, or someone told me. If you don't tell them, they'll never know. So if you don't tell someone, and I think I've gotten really good at this in the past little bit, like, I feel like I have never been so straight up about my feelings. Um, that's so funny. I've never been so like, this is what I fucking want, and this is basically how I want to get it. And um, if something's pissing me off, like, I'm gonna say it. There's been times when I'm like, I'm not ready to talk about it, but for the most part, I'm actually quite straight up about stuff because I actually do realize, and I feel like I've started to realize that lately, is, or like in the past couple of years, is like if you don't tell someone something, like if you're angry at someone or you're upset at some, like something that someone did, if you don't actually voice that, like they're never gonna know. And here's the thing is when you think about that and you're like, well, what if I tell them that and they react a certain way? Or what if I tell them that and, I don't get the reaction that I want? We cannot control people's reactions. So when you're thinking about it and you're like, okay, I really want to tell them that this makes me upset, like if it actually makes you upset, you have to tell them because otherwise nothing's going to ever change and that person's probably going to keep doing what they did, whether it's a friend, whether it's like your partner, whether like I do not fucking care who it is. It's just like in my business. If I don't voice how I'm feeling and being like, you guys, like, I'm trying to think of an instance where it's happened in business. Oh, just like the rules on Facebook. Like, okay, so in our Facebook group, we've got these rules. And basically, you just like can't be a bitch and you can't promote your social stuff. And here's the thing is when people join the group, they have to read through the rules and accept the rules and like agree to them and everything. And so say someone in the Facebook group promoted their, I don't know, their training or something. One of our mods is probably going to message her and be like, you can't do that in the group. But she would never know. Wait, does that even make sense? Kind of. She would never really know if we didn't tell her, you know? So, like, it's enough. Or if, say, one of my friends, if one of my friends canceled, like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes before we were supposed to meet or something. To be honest, I'd be pretty pissed. Like, I probably got ready. I probably did my hair, probably did my makeup, depends what we're doing. I probably like put on a cute dress if we're going out or something. And then I'm like, I mean, I'm probably already driving to their fucking house. So then for them to call me and cancel, I would be like, yo, the fuck? Like, what are you doing? I'd be like, I'm still coming over, like, whatever. But I'd also, like, if it was something or a situation that upset me, as much as I love my friends, I feel like I have to voice that. Otherwise, there's this awkward elephant in the room, whether they notice it or not. Like, I would be sitting there being like, I'm kind of fucking mad at you for doing that, but I haven't said anything. So now I'm just like mad in my head, you know? But I just want you to think about that when you're in a situation like, and I think how I think about it is I understand that you can't control people's reactions. So you have to have these hard conversations with people and let their reaction be their reaction. Like, whatever happens, happens. And ultimately, it's their decision how they want to take it. But also, I think this helps find the people that are meant to be in your life and find the people that aren't. Because if you're not able to voice how you feel with people and for them to react a certain way, and if they react in a way that's like basically fuck you and your feelings, maybe people can react that way in the first part or in the first like little bit of it because they're like taken back and they're like, oh my God, I'm not sure what's happening. But if they're constantly reacting like that and they're not like really validating how you feel, or they're not actively trying to change it, or they're not like apologizing or whatever. Like if someone came to me and they were like, "Hey, listen, like the way that you did this really fucking pissed me off, or it really like rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm not trying to ask for anything, but I'm just trying to say how I feel about the situation. I mean, I could freak out and be like, oh, what the fuck? I can't believe you just, like, whatever. I could also apologize. Like, you never know where that situation's going to go, but if it helps you build your own boundaries and basically be happier, then why wouldn't you want to do that? You know? It might be a really hard conversation, but I think it's 100% worth it. And I think it's worth your peace and worth your mental state, honestly. Like, okay. This changed my fucking life, you guys. It's why I dropped out of university. It is the sole reason that I dropped out of university. Like 100%. So I went to university for a year and a half. And I was like that girl. I went into arts. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I was like, I'm going to try business because I would love to own a business. Never finished. So there's that. But someone told me, okay, I'm not sure how this went, if it was the first one or the second one, but these go hand in hand, okay? Someone said, why are you learning from people, like, say in a marketing class, that have never even done marketing or that have never, say you're learning from people in a business class and they've never even owned a fucking business? What? Excuse me? I was like, the fuck? No. Then someone was like, well, why are you taking advice from adults that aren't even happy? What? Shut the fuck up. That's the best advice I've ever heard. Why would I take advice from people that aren't even happy? When someone said that to me, honestly, I forget who it was. I have no idea. It was in university. When someone said that, I was like, I think I saw how unhappy people were. I literally saw people divorcing. I saw people like go to their job and they fucking hated their job. Their 9 to 5. They worked for the government. They they were nurses. They whatever the fuck they did. It was like I could see through people's bullshit. And I was like, oh, all of the adults that are around me are so fucking unhappy and they're trying to fake this happiness that they have. And I felt like I could see right through it after someone said that. And I was like, why the fuck would I listen to them? Like, adults that give you advice, or genuinely anyone that gives you advice, make sure that they're in a position that you want to be in. I was like, like, I don't know. I think it was actually one of my friends. I think what she said was something like, um, she's like, I think she asked me, what would I want to be like when I grow up? And I was like, I would probably want like an office job and like I would want to work. Who the fuck was I? Who wants to like that was so not me. That is so, look at me. I'm not doing that at all. But I was like, I would want an office job, probably want to work maybe where my mom works. Um, I'd want to work for the government so I get good benefits and stuff. And what else did I say? I fucking remember. I think I just listed off my mom's job, to be honest with you. And then nothing against my mom. I think my mom has a great job. It's just not my thing, okay? And then she was like, oh, I don't want to be anything like my parents. And I was like, what? You don't look up to your parents? Why not? I was like, I I was kind of amazed. I was like, that's crazy. You don't want to be like your parents? Like, I actually think this was a time when her mom worked where my mom worked. And I was like, she makes a ton of money. Like, come on. Why would you not? And then she's like, that sounds awful. I would never want to work there. Like, my mom is not happy. I think she was saying that like her parents were fighting all the time and like it was just, she was like, I can see how unhappy my mom is. And I was like, oh. okay. And I think that opened up my eyes to be like, what? And then hearing someone say, like, why would you take advice from people that aren't happy? And then also, why are you going to school and learning from these people that have maybe never even owned a business and stuff? Um, that changed just my whole perspective on everything. I was like, it, it was crazy because I was still working in restaurants at that time. And like, I think I started to live my life around it. So I quit. I literally mid semester, I didn't even finish the semester. I think I just started the semester actually. I think I got like a year and a half and then like a week under my belt of university. And then I was like, I remember being in marketing. I was in this marketing 101 class or something, and I didn't pay attention at at all. I don't even know what they were talking about because I knew I was dropping out. So I wasn't listening. I was looking up apartments in BC because I'm from Sask. And I was like, I gotta move. I gotta leave. Like, I need to go where I wanna go. So I was looking up apartments, and I think within that week, I just dropped out, completely dropped out of school. I actually called my parents. This is so funny. I called my parents. They're on a fucking trip in Florida, I think. I think my sister just got engaged or something. And I called them and I was like, I'm dropping out of school. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm dropping out of school. I'm literally dropping out of university like today. And they're like, what? And then I was like, oh, and I'm moving across the country because I don't want to live here anymore. And they're like, what? And I knew I could do it because they were at home. And I was like, there's nothing that they could do. There's literally nothing. What are they going to do? Force me to go to school? They're in Florida. Like, this is probably the best time to tell them, like, hey, mom, I'm dropping out of school. I'm moving across the country. And um, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. So bye. And then she's like, well, I guess I just have to go hang out by the pool now. Like, what? So I did it. I dropped out of school. I leave it up to me to always do what I say I'm going to do. I will always do what I say I'm going to do. So I dropped out of school. I moved across the country and I started living my life by like, if you're unhappy and you're trying to give me advice, like it will go in one ear out the other because I will not deal with that. Like I don't need your advice. Like don't tell me. Yeah, I just won't listen to it anymore. And I think maybe it's helped me get to where I am, you guys. um okay, that's enough. I wanted to end this with just saying thank you to you guys. First of all, we would never have a podcast if it wasn't for you guys listening and watching and supporting and sharing the reels and sharing the stuff on the lifted page. Everything, all of it. Like, I actually can't thank you guys enough. This community is, it's actually insane. Like, it's so big. But yeah, I mean, I could still have a podcast. I would just ramble on my podcast and nobody would listen. So, what fun is that? So thank you guys for supporting and just, yeah, I feel like you guys have endless support even on the app. The app girls have been popping off this week and I am like trying to keep up with it. But it's crazy the progress I've seen with just girls in these challenges and stuff. Anyways, um, thank you guys for being here. That's all. This episode is completely dedicated to you. So, yeah, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your mom. I don't care. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. And I'll see you at the next episode. Bye.